And so,
Mended light.
we are doing a fun series on meeting needs. And if you've watched any of our videos, especially our marriage problem videos, you know that we like to talk about personality types. And there are four. There are four basic personality types. And we actually kind of have our own system. We have our own personality course that you can take in our membership site. And you know what? It is not any better or worse than any other personality type. He says it's better. Program that's out there.
No, I'll tell you why it's better, because
Okay, please
ours
tell us.
is very intuitive. Like
It is.
color
It's very
coding,
intuitive.
or are you a 1, 2, 3, or 4? We go dreamer, healer, closer, thinker. You hear those words and you already have a sense of what these personality types are.
That's true. That's true. And everybody has a dominant personality type and typically a secondary. Some people are split really evenly between their secondary and their tertiary. We call it divergent. We don't need to get into that.
And let me say really fast to the people who will sound off in the comments saying, where's the science to back this up? Is this evidence-based? This is a construct.
Yeah.
This is a helpful construct for organizing what you see in the people around you.
And in yourself.
It is not a hard, fast science. It is just meant to be helpful. So take that for what it's worth. But I found it to be incredibly valid.
It's helped me so much. My personality type, dominant, is a thinker. Like I need to put things into boxes and I need to put the pieces together. And I literally didn't understand people that weren't like me.
You're right. Until we found this. So
Until we found this.
today we're talking about...
Yeah, today we're talking about...
I'm sorry. I'm just getting into my dreamer energy.
Today we are talking about dreamers and meeting the needs of dreamers. And here's why that is so important, is because we all need to be seen and to be heard and to be accepted, to be loved. And the way we do that with each other is through connection. And when we understand each other, we are able to connect at a much deeper level. We each have the responsibility to know our own needs, to meet our own needs, to communicate our needs to those we love, right? So they can better meet them. And so this video is all about creating connection with dreamers. And I'm so excited to be doing this video series. Thank you for joining me as the resident dreamer of this YouTube channel.
Dreamers in the house. Listen, dreamers, we love them because they're super fun. Can we talk about the strengths of a dreamer for a second?
Yeah, well, so dreamers connect to the world through play. And they're often seen as the most childlike personality type, not to be confused with childish, but they just have this fun, lighthearted energy, and they connect through play and being social.
Yes.
They are the extroverted, relationship-oriented personality type.
And we call them dreamers because their heads are often in the clouds. And I don't mean that disparagingly, because I'm a dreamer. We're usually thinking of things that other people are not. We're making connections in our brains that other people are not. We are ideas people. We dream big. We may not be execution people, but we'll get to that in a second. But when it comes to having the ideas that nobody else has and thinking of things that nobody else is thinking of, that's something dreamers are very, very good at.
They are the life of the party. They are the innovators. They are the idea people. Everything is a possibility. And that has its pros and its cons.
We're good at cheering people up. We're good at making them laugh. We're good at resilience and making the heaviest chores seem like a game, making them fun, right?
Yeah.
And we're naturally optimistic. And that's something you've told me that you like about me, that I will be happy.
Right.
I'll find a way to be happy almost no matter what is going on, just because that's my natural setting.
Yeah.
And when things are piled on top of me, I'm like crawling out to get back to happiness, because I feel like that's my default. That's where I belong.
Yeah, and your blissfulness that you approach life with is inspiring. Like I've been inspired many a times, and on the flip side, occasionally when you're not just blissfully happy, I'm like, ooh, what do I do with this? Like, stop.
I remember
What do we do when Jono's not happy?
I remember one time early in our marriage, I got upset with you, and you said, and you were kidding, but you're like, I feel like you're not allowed to be upset because you're the happy one. And I'm like, I could be upset. You're like, I know. So
Well, and some people think maybe dreamers are being disingenuine because they cannot relate to that lightheartedness, that fun, that frivolity.
yeah, I've had people tell me I didn't like you for a long time because I thought you were fake. And then I spent enough time around you and I realized, oh no, this actually is you.
Right. So those are all the things we love about dreamers. The flip side of that, because everything is a possibility, they're not really committed to anything until it happens. They can be seen as flaky,
We str-
disorganized.
Easily distracted. We struggle with follow through. Not with everything. If something is engaging and fun for us, we will see it through to the end.
Right.
But if it gets boring, or if it feels hard and not like in a challenging, exciting way, but just like a drag of a way, yeah, we just kind of like
Dreamers are out. When
We're
things
out.
become a drag, they're like, I'm out of here. I can't do this.
we'll bounce.
This is so boring.
Or more realistically, for when someone is older, it's like, no, I'll do it, just not now. And then it never happens. It's not always a decision just to bounce. It's
Right.
more of a, I don't feel like doing this right now.
Right.
And I'll do
Well-
it later, and then later never
And
comes.
every personality type exists on a spectrum of maturity,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so these are core values. These are the ways dreamers show up. But an immature dreamer will be more self-involved,
Mm-hmm.
will be less committed, so on and so forth. You develop maturity, you develop resilience, so on and so forth. And you today have a hell of a lot more follow-through than you 15 years ago.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I know that.
And it's taken a lot of concentrated
Right,
effort. I see
right.
dreamers like bees, right? And bees, how they go from flower to flower pollinating. Dreamers go from person to person or situation to situation, trying to spread fun and laughter and ideas, but then they move on. And so we can struggle sometimes with not just with seeing things through, but because we're constantly moving. Alicia will encourage me to think through, to form a plan. And I'll form a plan, and it's 5 steps. And I think it is an all-encompassing plan. And she, as a thinker, which we'll get to in a different video, will say, no, there's not 5 steps, there's 20. Dreamers struggle with detail.
Yeah.
And they struggle with really thinking through every step of what's going to need to happen because they're so used to just kind of improvising along the way. And oftentimes it works for them, so they just keep doing that.
Right.
And then when it doesn't work, it can bite them.
Improvising gets you so far.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So how do we meet the needs of dreamers in our relationships, which includes most children or all children,
Yeah.
right, are dreamers by default?
Yeah, so we say all children are dreamers until proven otherwise, because that is an aspect of childhood that is consistent, that energy of childhood.
Learn through play, connect through play. That's part
Mm-hmm.
of childhood for everybody. And then some people like adapt into something else, and others of us just stay in that gear. And there's nothing wrong with that, right?
Right.
But so I'm a dreamer. How do you meet my needs?
Well, so what are the needs of a dreamer? They need things to be light and fun. They bring incredible enthusiasm to
Yes.
what they do. And so appreciating that enthusiasm.
And appreciating that creativity, even if you don't run with our ideas. The thing
Right.
about dreamers is we have 100 ideas an hour. We don't expect all of them to stick, so we're generally not really offended if you don't run
Right.
with. As long as we feel like you appreciate the effort and the creativity at play, we're fine.
Because everything is just a possibility.
Yeah.
Everything is just a possibility for a dreamer until it actually happens. And when you understand that, then you don't see them as flaky. You're
Yes.
just like, we're just talking about possibilities.
It's also important to ask the question, okay, how important is this idea to you? Because once in a while, a dreamer will have an idea that they're really married to, but to an outside observer, it seems just like any of their
Right.
other ideas they get
Right.
excited about.
So those are the general needs. Social acceptance. I mean, we all need to be seen and heard and understood.
Yes.
But the peer acceptance is huge for a dreamer because they're an extroverted personality. They're an extroverted, relationship-oriented personality type.
And if they're trying to cheer you up, let them. Let them cheer you up.
Yeah.
And I would say we need help with follow through, right? As we grow in maturity, and that's something that I definitely gained from you in your example, was learning how to like just hunker down and get something done, no excuses, and finish it. As a dreamer matures, they'll be able to do that more for themselves.
So it's important to understand what our needs are, but then ultimately, each of us individually, it's our responsibility to meet our own needs
Yes.
and then communicate our needs and then allow our friends and loved ones to meet those needs so that it's appropriate for them to meet. And so for you as a dreamer, what do you do that meets these needs? Like, how do you meet your own needs as a dreamer?
I'm a very creative person, So
You might not have noticed.
So here we are on YouTube, and as I create things, that meets a need for me, right? As I engage in that process, and there are things that I do that I create just for my own enjoyment.
Right.
You know, these video montages and things like that. I meet my needs by making sure that I have fun. That I carve out, especially as I am older and wiser and have more responsibilities. When I feel really heavy and like my light is going out is generally when I'm not making sure I'm setting aside time for fun and to truly enjoy it instead of I'm doing this fun thing, but I'm thinking about something stressful, right? But to actually get involved in that moment.
Well, and for so long, you had all these loves of family and of film, and they've come together, and you've said, I can now watch movies for work, and you love it. And that's a dream come true for you and so many people. But and you enjoy it, but there's also a component of you're like, I watched a movie today just to watch a movie. And that was nice.
Didn't have to take notes, didn't have to
Right.
prepare an outline from it. I
Right.
just enjoyed it. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. When it comes to learning, we learn visually and hands-on. If someone and Alicia knows this,
Yeah.
because she'll try and give me verbal instructions, and 2 steps in, I'm already lost, right? I actually have to experience it.
Right.
Or see it done, and that's how I learn. And so if you're trying to teach, that's the way to do that.
So it took years for us to understand like how opposite our personality types were.
Yeah.
And are. They still are. And so meeting your needs as a dreamer, like I recognized that you had a much higher need for fun than I did. And I love fun and I enjoy fun, but there's certain things that you get out of fun that you need it in a larger capacity in your life, right? So there was times when I would judge you for taking a break or going off to play, and I'm like, what are you doing? All this work needs to be done. And I realized you couldn't effectively do your work in that state of mind, that you needed that play, right? And so there are ways that I show up in our relationship that support you in that play.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a lot of our adventures together have fulfilled that need. Yeah, and you're the trailblazer. You're Lewis and Clark. I'm just there carrying the luggage across the wilderness.
So supporting a friend or a loved one or a family member in their need to play, right?
Yes.
Whether it's a partner or whether it's your child, like recognize that dreamers have a higher need for play than someone else.
Yes.
And what that's looked like in supporting our children, as much as possible, I try and turn household activities into fun, into games, right?
Yes.
And dreamers are very good at turning on the music and having a dance party while you're picking up the house.
Yes.
Right? And us over here that are not dreamers look at that and go, that's so fun. I wish I could be a fun mom. But I'm just not a fun mom.
You are a fun mom. But you have had to step into, okay, we are going to do this as a dance party cleanup instead of just a cleanup.
Right. Or turning the music up really loud when everybody's in the car or things like that, right? So supporting that need for play, but also a dreamer will love you forever if you can take the ideas that they're most passionate about and help them achieve them.
Yes.
Right? And that doesn't mean you should self-sacrifice to the point of betrayal. We won't talk about that here. But that doesn't mean that, right? But that is how another fantastic way to support a dreamer is to help them identify what are you really passionate about, what's really important to you, and let's put in a plan to achieve that.
Yes.
Because especially in a less mature place, they don't know how to do that, right?
No, they need that. They need that extra support. I do feel like if you have a dreamer doing your taxes,
hopefully you don't have a dreamer doing your taxes.
well, but I mean, like there are areas where they're going to very much struggle. But the flip side of that is if you turn a dreamer loose in an area that they're passionate about, they will show up for you like nobody else will.
They will do it in such an innovative, creative way that it'll blow your mind.
Yeah, and with such love for what they're doing, and they will be so happy doing it. So that's a way to meet a dreamer's needs. And I don't know if you asked our children to make me art for my birthday or if they just did it, but my goodness, these little dreamer people. Our daughter spent several days on a giant birthday mural for me.
Montage.
Yeah, and it just brought her so much joy and happiness. And for you, for Mother's Day, I made you a video montage of you and the kids, and it was just something that I loved doing, and I just wanted to give it to you. Let's talk about what not to do.
These are the things you don't say, or the ways you don't treat a dreamer because you will squash their rainbow-filled, reaching for the stars heart. You're going to squash their rainbows and unicorns. And nobody wants that.
You broke my heart.
Don't tell them to settle down or to grow up. Don't tell them that they're immature or that they can't be that fun-loving personality type, or that they're unprofessional by being that. And I think this is probably something that's changed a lot in the last decade or two. There is a much larger space for dreamers in the world, where previously it might have been seen as some of these behaviors were more childish, and to be an adult and to be a professional, you needed to grow up and to leave those childlike things behind.
Right. Don't mistake their childlike energy for immaturity. I mean, sometimes it is, but very often dreamers think and feel as deeply and profoundly and maturely as anybody. I like to think of, like, the quintessential dreamer to me is Robin Williams.
Totally.
You see Robin Williams, the type of energy and creativity and silliness and play with which he showed up, but there was a deep well of wisdom and compassion and empathy there that was just below the surface. And for most dreamers, that's there. They're not immature, they're not childish, they're childlike.
So here's the other thing to not do with a dreamer. Don't let them use their nature as an excuse to drop the ball. Because you love the dreamer in your life, you need to hold them accountable.
Yes.
And not in a harsh, you need to grow up sort of way, but in a loving, compassionate, understanding way, and say, hey, I love you. I know you care about this thing, or there's this skill in life that's important. I know it's hard, but how can we set this up in a way so that you have the ability to follow through? How can we do this in a way that supports you? And what's supportive for a dreamer isn't going to look like support for a thinker or a closer.
Or a healer. And this is true of all the personality types. They all have strengths and they all have weaknesses. And part of loving them is, yes, accepting them for how they are, but if you're going to work with them or build a life with them, you need them to grow, just like they need you to grow. And we all have the capacity to look at our weaknesses and work on them. I will likely never be as driven or responsible or on top of things naturally as you are.
And I don't expect you to.
And you're not naturally as playful or silly as I am, and I don't expect you to be. But we can both and have stepped further into that space to meet closer to the middle, and that's growth, and that helps us to join.
And especially if this is, a partnership relationship or a parent-child relationship, providing that structure in a way that isn't condescending or contemptful or like there's something wrong with them. Say, hey, I know this is something you struggle with. I know this is hard. What can I do to support you? Or how about if we try this? Or this is a lifelong opportunity for you to grow. What can we do about it today to help you on that path? It's the shame and the guilt that often comes from childhood. And it shows up usually in a big way when you have a parent who is an opposite personality type of the child and they don't understand each other. And it's like they're speaking two different languages, even though they're both speaking the same actual language. It might as well be, English and Spanish or French and Italian or Chinese and Hindu.
Do you speak any English? Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Like, it's so different. And then they get stuck in this power struggle of not understanding each other, and then the strengths and the weaknesses rubbing up against each other, right?
100%.
And so we can show that love and that understanding and support. And that has been such a powerful lesson for me being married to you and also raising our children.
Yes. Well, we all learn and grow from one another. And thank you for taking me under your wing and shepherding me into adulthood.
So, do you have a dreamer in your life? Or are you a dreamer? And do you have a loved one, a sibling, a parent, a family member that just didn't get you, right? What are the conflicts that have come up? You can share this video with them and to talk about how you can better meet each other's needs. Because that was huge for me, marrying you, having more children.
I'll bet it was. It was a big get for her. Sorry.
Recognizing the drastically different personalities than mine recognizing their needs, because I genuinely didn't understand how
And
drastically
yeah.
different your needs were from mine.
And
how
seeing them as equally valid, right?
yeah, and how drastically different our children's needs were from mine because we have different personality types. And understanding what the different personality types value. And then me valuing what they valued and said, okay, like how do we meet the needs of everybody in this relationship?
Yeah.
And it is challenging. I won't pretend like it's not challenging. There are 7 different unique people with different personality combinations in our house. And I remember sitting down, I think it was when our youngest was a baby, and I was like, this is a joke. This is a joke. How do we do this in a loving and supportive way? It took years, and sometimes it's a slam dunk, and other times, like, we're totally creating fouls, like we're throwing the ball off the court, but we're showing up for one another, and we're doing it with love and acceptance, and that is the key.
Love it. So to see even more of how this has played out in our relationship, check out Marrying Your Opposite, We're Too Different. This video is going to pop up right here at the end. So until next time, folks, keep shining because we need